Resistors are one of the most common components found in any electronic. We can tear open any device that has a circuit board and almost guarantee that there is a resistor being used. Resistors are also greatly associated to something called Ohm's law. Ohm's law is used to calculate three things: voltage, which is how strong of electricity we have at any given point; current, which is how much electricity is passing through our device; and resistance, which is used to calculate how strong of a resistor we need or how strong of a resistor is being used. But Ohm's law is really difficult to understand starting out. At least it was for me. This difficulty creates a learning curve, which is hard for new people starting out in electronics to understand how resistors work, which can be a deterrent on moving forward in electronics. So we're going to simplify things, and we're going to toss out Ohm's law entirely and replace it with the single word electricity, something that all of us are familiar with in some way or another. So let's get to it. There are a variety of different resistors built in different ways. Some are designed to tolerate large amounts of heat, while others are designed to work only with light. But all resistors work the same way. If not, we wouldn't have only one equation called Ohm's law to identify how big of a resistor we need. Simply put, a resistor is designed to reduce how much electricity is passing through our components. Let's take this for example. We have 5 volts of electricity, but our little light bulb called an LED can only handle 3 volts of electricity. We use a resistor to make this happen. Now you don't need to know what volts are for this video. Just see it as a number with a fancy word behind it, like how we have 5 oranges, but now we only have 3 oranges. This reduction happened because not all electronics can handle the same amount of electricity. Our little light bulb, for example, can only handle 3 volts of electricity. But if we pass 5 volts of electricity through it, that's like stuffing too many marshmallows in its mouth and telling it to swallow. It's going to get super bright and then it's going to die, seen by the device burning out and no longer working. With the right resistor, we can make sure to always have a healthy amount of light coming from our little light bulb. Let's ask a question then. How does a resistor do this? To put it fairly simple, resistors can do this by the way they are designed on the inside. Now the design will vary from one resistor to another, but the end result will remain the same. Every resistor is told how much to reduce the electricity that is passing through it. This can be done by a variety of different metals, separated by 2 different categories called a conductive material and a non-conductive material. A conductive material can be seen as something that electricity really likes. Let's see it as like chocolate candy. And non-conductive material is something that electricity doesn't really like. It could be seen as vegetables without flavoring. Now when electricity passes through something that it likes, the amount of electricity stays almost exactly the same. 5 volts remains as 5 volts. When electricity passes through something that it doesn't like, the electricity fights back, but its mother still forces it to eat its vegetables. This causes the amount of electricity that we have to go from 5 volts to 3 volts, depending upon how much the electricity has to fight back. What happens if our electricity doesn't have to put up much of a fight? What if our electricity goes from 5 volts to 4 volts, but our little light bulb can only handle 3 volts? Well, anything beyond the 3 volts that our little light bulb can handle will destroy it. That's why it's very important for us to do the correct math in order to identify the proper resistor to use. That's why Ohm's law is so important. We can see this max amount of electricity that we can use for our little light bulb as a height requirement that we would find at a fair. But rather than seeing the sign that says that you must be this tall to ride, we see the sign that says you must be this small to ride. Anything bigger will be a bad thing. But did you know that resistors also have a height requirement? They can only handle so much electricity. If our resistor can only handle 2 volts of electricity, but we pass 3 volts of electricity through it, our little light bulb will be just fine. But our resistor will be the one that will burn up and die. When this happens, the resistor no longer fights back on the electricity. The amount of voltage remains the same. So our 5 volts will remain as 5 volts. This means that not only will our resistor burn out, but our little light bulb will also be destroyed by the sudden increase in the amount of electricity. This happens because a burnt resistor no longer behaves like a traditional resistor. A burnt resistor behaves more like a normal wire, which allows the electricity to pass through the device without changing. Knowing how much electricity a resistor can take is very important, but it requires a bit more math. And as beginners, we want to keep things basic. But for those starting out in electronics, keep the voltage rating below what most resistors are designed to handle. That being either 1/8 watts or 1/4 watts. Watts is just how much electricity that the resistor can handle at one time. This voltage rating is sometimes found with the package of new resistors. If it isn't, or if you don't have a package, go to Amazon.com and type in the size of your resistor, and you will generally find the information that you need. Use the pictures provided by Amazon to identify which resistor you are using. These photo descriptions will have most, if not all, the information that beginners need starting out in electronics. If you're still uncertain which resistor to use, it is always best to start high and move to smaller resistors rather than start low and move to bigger resistors. Starting too low will cause damage to our little light bulb or any other electronic that you are using. And that is how basic resistors work. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to receive alerts for future videos. I'll see you next time on The Do Theory.